How to prioritise your time off. Phil Dobson here, author of The Brain Book and founder of Brain Workshops. In this video, I just want to remind you of the importance of prioritising your time off. In a previous video, we spoke about prioritising your work, and while of course that's important, I think when the conversation about prioritisation is explored, all too often we only think about work, about managing long-term projects, about goals, and yeah, I'm all for that, but I think too often we forget about the other stuff, and the stuff that's arguably even more important, which is the stuff that you love doing, the things that you do in your time off, the things that you do at your weekend or in your evening. And I think observing so many people struggling with busyness, all too often the things that get put to one side first or too quickly are those very things, the things that make you happy or give you joy, whether it's time with your family, time walking the dog, reading a book, going to a gig, or just time getting drunk with your friends. I want to kind of remind you that those things aren't just things that help nourish your emotional well-being. I think they are also part and parcel of a working smart in the long-term protocol, right? How you spend your time out of work is the stuff that enables you to sustain your performance at work over the long term. So your recovery, not just in terms of sleep and rest, but your emotional recovery, I suppose, your psychological recovery in terms of stuff that gives you joy, even if that's tiring, that should be part of your long-term strategy. So my 3 tips would be these. Tip number 1, reframe your mindset if it needs to be done. So if you were to be honest with yourself now and look back over the last week or 4 weeks, maybe even 3 months, do you feel like you've spent as much time as you'd like doing the stuff that you love? Do you have hobbies that you perhaps neglect? What about just exercise or sleep or things that give you an immediate return? Have you given them as much time as you might like? And if the answer is no, then okay, fine, we're busy and I'm sure you've got lots to do as a high performer, but if this is a consistent trend that all too often you're not maybe spending as much time as you might like with your friends, or those hobbies, those pastimes, reading a book, or things that you used to love doing, too often now you never make time for, maybe now is the time to acknowledge how important it is to you. So shift your mindset away from the working ever harder, there's so much to do, and towards not just working smarter, but acknowledging that actually your performance at work needs a greater sense of balance, right? Your capacity to stop working, to put it all away, to get back into the things that you love doing. So I think that's quite a general but important first step. Step 2 is to then identify the things that you love doing most. So if I was to ask you to list your top 5 things that give you joy, what activities, what people, spending time with people is often the things that make us happiest, right? Well, who are those people, and does your calendar reflect that? So spend a few minutes now, just get a pen and paper, pause the video if you want, and write down no less than 5 things that reliably give you joy, or give you a sense of energy, or a sense of balance or recovery, things that reliably make you feel more resourceful at the end of that. So for me, writing music is a real big one of those things. If I write music, if I play the guitar, if I produce in the studio, I get a real sense of joy because it's so immersive. It's an activity where time disappears, the outside world really disappears. It's very sort of mindful in that respect, and I get lost in it. And I come out of it and I feel better. Surfing is another thing that I can't do as frequently, but has a similar impact on my well-being. But my dearest friends, the people I love the most, when I spend time with them, obviously I feel better. Now, it's not just about emotional well-being. Like I've said, the research is pretty clear. You do more of these things, you respond better to stress, your performance in the long term starts to elevate. So it's really important. So now, if you haven't done so already, pause the video and just spend 5 minutes thinking about what are the top 5 ways that give you energy, that make you feel more resourceful, recovered, optimistic maybe, or just happy. And then step 3 is, well, now you need to commit to these things. You need to calendarize them. So for some things, like if I were to think about surfing, that is something I need to calendarize. I can't make a routine around it because I don't live next to the ocean. So how many times a year do I want to go surfing, and is it now booked in my calendar? Something else might be more monthly. If you like going to gigs, or you like going to the theatre, or you like exploring in the forest, maybe that's something now to think about, right, how specifically are you going to do that each month from now on? And other things that are more daily or weekly, things like exercise or the right nutrition. How can you now turn these into routines that enable you to commit to this and to enjoy it on a more regular basis? So hopefully this is just a quick reminder, but I think it is so important to prioritize the things that you love doing and to prioritize your time off. So again, step number 1, shift your mindset if need be. Acknowledge that your performance at work, in and out of work, is in part a reflection on how much you prioritize your time off to be able to then re-engage with work. Prioritization of the things that you love doing is critical. Step 2, identify the 5 or more things that give you the most joy. What are the things you really love doing above all else? Step 3, calendarize them or turn them into routines. Ultimately, now commit to these things that are so important to you. Hope that's been valuable. Hope this has helped. If you want to get any more tips and tricks to work smarter, go to the website brainworkshops.co.uk. There you can subscribe for more tips, or just as good, share this video with a friend that you might like to see on one of your days or evenings off. All right, all the best.